All right, football stuff. Dare Rosenthal in the news right now. He is in the transfer portal. First off, what do you make of the story, and what's it mean for the offensive line?
Well, I mean, it's a story that we've heard before, right? Getting into some violation of team rules, which kept him out of games last year, and now it's become sort of a recurring theme, and for him that means moving on. I think Baylor would be a team to watch, right? I mean, half that staff from Mateos to Jeff Grimes is the OC, obviously Aranda, Dennis Johnson recruited him out of Faraday, so a lot of the on-field coaches there know him. You know, you could go over there. They've got spots. That's a big thing. You have to have counters left. I mean, LSU only has 25, for instance, so they can't, or they already hit the 25. They couldn't go out and take anybody else. So a lot of these teams are going to be out of the mix that would probably love to have them because they've already filled up with guys. So Baylor would be the one to watch, and I'm curious, man, because, look, all 5 of these starting O-linemen came back. You sort of expect that through another offseason, that they're going to make some real strides, and it's a big deal when your left tackle, who really, there was some thought out there that he was the one who had the highest draft, prospect or status or stock or however you want to put it. Ingram might be the most talented, but Dare's upside certainly was there as perhaps the best, and now it's left to wonder what could have been in a year where you're sort of whole new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, all that. You'd love to have your left tackle, and now they'll move forward, it sounds like, with Cam Wire. Yeah,
Cam Wire seems like the name to watch there. Do you have somebody's name outside of Wire? We've seen Wire play, but one of these names that you've been looking for, the Bradfords, the Xavier Hills of the world, of somebody that could step in? Could Garrett Dellinger be a guy?
It would, yeah, and I think Garrett Dellinger could, if he's talented enough, could be the Cam Wire, a swingman of sorts who can play inside out, be the 6th guy for you whenever needed. I do think it'll be Wire. I think that Dellinger is one to watch. Let's see how Marcus Dumerville's come along. He's been playing at right tackle there behind Deculus. Let's see how Xavier Hill's been coming along. He's been really a guard in high school, we thought, and now he's been a left tackle backup to Dare and to Wire, so now he moves up in the pecking order there. But yet, I'd imagine you've got to move forward with Wire and see where it goes from there. Bradford, for me, just seems like you can stretch and maybe put him at right tackle, but he seems like a guard all the way. So maybe he's at that right guard spot, still battling Chase and Hines. But, hey, look, better if there's some sort of silver lining. This didn't happen a day before the UCLA game. Cam Wire's got a couple months to figure this out. So
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Every year during the recruiting cycle, Louisiana has 1 or 2 prospects that Alabama and Nick Saban circle, and they go after, and they make it a headache, or they either get them out of LSU and Louisiana's backyard. It seems like Quincy Wiggins is this year's guy, where they have turned up the heat on Wiggins over the last couple of weeks. I'm just following him on social media and seeing how many times he's making the trip to Tuscaloosa.
You getting on Twitter, J. Cool?
On that Graham game, Coach.
That's where it is.
That Graham game is keep you up to date.
Yeah, I think when Le'Veon Moss at a string,
and then I was about to say Le'Veon Moss is a commitment to Alabama. Who is the biggest threat here? What do you see going on?
Well, I mean, and let's also paint the picture of what I see to be the reality of O's done a really good job of keeping guys home. And you look back, and Devonta Smith obviously was a big name, but beyond him, Sopsher is the one guy who left and went to Bama. He's not even at Bama anymore, and never panned out. So, not that LSU didn't want him either, but that one didn't sting you like the Heisman winner did. And again, though, even with Devonta Smith, LSU's never short on receivers. But point being, I think O's track record is good enough to think they'll be able to keep these guys home, right? Even if Le'Veon Moss is committed, if they really want him and they're pushing for him, he lives right down the road here in Baton Rouge. I mean, you can continue to buckle in there. I think that Trevante Citizen and Moss will be the guys to watch at running back, and I don't think that they'll be in a hurry to make moves with other guys outside the state, because I think they'd like those two to stay home. But no doubt, after you get past, like, Nick Saban would kill for Will Campbell. He ain't going there. He would take Walker Howard, the number 2 quarterback in the country. He ain't going there. He loved Jacoby Matthews, 5-star safety. He ain't going there. So now you're down to the 4th and 5th guys on the list, and that's Moss and Wiggins. Those are the number 4 and 5 ranked players, kind of consensus in the state. So it's no surprise to see that's where they've zeroed in on. They got the commitment from Moss. Like I said, we'll see where things go. I'm so high on Wiggins. I mean, he was so good at camp.
Coach.
He's only played 1 year of football. He's, so that sort of the ceiling is way up there compared to most guys, given he doesn't have much playing experience. He's a basketball background guy with Coach Jones at Madison Prep, so he's got athleticism. And you just see him, he looks like he's ready to, I mean, he could be in Moffitt's strength program right now, and he looks great. So that's, for me, a guy who's going to wind up being, no doubt, top 5 player in the state. And there could be some years where he'd be the number 1 player in the state. He's just run up against a year where they're really top-heavy with 3 or 4 or 5 guys who are super good. I mean, they've already got 3 5-stars in the class from Louisiana.
What does the Eli Holstein commitment to Texas A&M mean for LSU's board and the quarterback board in the future of Louisiana?
Well, I mean, actions for me always in recruiting speak the loudest. I've always said this on Go 24/7. Fans talk about it now and repeat it all the time from when I would say it, not like we would be predicting where kids would go. And I would say, just remember, follow their actions and not what they're saying. And then I wouldn't, follow that line of thinking. And I would still say, no, they're going to go to LSU or whatever. And people said, no, listen, Shea, you said follow what they're doing. This was the first month kids could see coaches in 15 months, and Eli Holstein never came to campus.
Wow.
So, I mean, It was very obvious that they don't have the interest there. So many people will make it into be a thing of, well, of course, like Eli and Walker were at STM, and Walker was the older guy and won the job, so Eli went to Zachary, and he's not about to follow him back to LSU. I think more than any of that, I think that Eli probably wanted to get outside the state, and this is what I liked about it, he didn't make any drama of it.
Yeah.
It ain't signing day. In fact, he was one of the first guys to commit for this class when you look at it. I mean, obviously, Walker's on board for this current one, but you look at next year and the 2023 dominoes, and not just in Louisiana, nationally, no quarterbacks have really committed. So Eli said, hey, look, I'm making visits to A&M, Ohio State, Bama, Clemson. I'm going to throw at all these camps. I'm going to pick up the offers, and I'm going to pick the school I feel the best about, and then I've got 2 years of high school football left in front of me. So we'll see how it all plays out for him. He's headed to Aggie land, but for LSU, I think it was clear that wasn't going to be the end game for him in the 2023 class. And I'm not saying it's going to be Arch Manning either. Look, you've got Ricky Collins over at Woodlawn. They've got national guys they've recruited. But I don't think anyone ever really thought it would be Eli Holstein. So from an LSU perspective, it works out for all parties. The Holsteins find a fit they feel comfortable with, and LSU isn't sitting around wondering, much longer, at least until beyond even his junior year, where he's going to go to school.